Texas Advisory Committee. And we're glad to see everybody on the call this morning. Hope you all are doing well. It is April 16th, 2024, and the time is 10:05 a.m. And I will call the ApplyTexas Advisory Committee meeting to order. We have a few guests joining us today. We want to welcome Laura Brennan, Assistant Commissioner for College and Career Advising, and Molly Gully, Senior Director of Advising Strategy with the Coordinating Board, and members of the ApplyTexas Product and Project Management team. So welcome, everybody. I will now take time to call roll of the committee members to confirm that we have a quorum to conduct this meeting. When I call your name, please introduce yourself by stating your name, title, and institution. And I will start with Tammy.
Hello, Tammy Adams. I'm the Associate Vice President of Enrollment Management and University Registrar for Texas A&M University, San Antonio.
Great, thank you, Tammy. Brian.
Good morning, Brian Armstrong, Assistant Vice President for Student Enrollment, Texas Southern University.
Thank you. Callie.
Morning, Callie Blakely, Director of Admissions at Kilgore College.
Hi, Callie. Tessie. I'll come back. Katrina. Okay. Brandy.
Good morning. I'm Brandy Enix from Texas A&M University. I'm the Director of Admissions.
Thank you, Brandy. Priscilla is our student rep. Okay. Jamie.
Good morning. Jamie Hansard with Texas Tech University, Vice President for Enrollment Management.
Thank you, Jamie. Cynthia.
Hi, Cynthia Hess from Tarleton State University, Director of Undergraduate Admissions.
Thank you, Cynthia. Laura.
Hi, Laura Isdell, Dean of Admissions, Collin College.
Thank you, Laura. Maria.
Good morning, Maria Juarez, Amarillo College. I'm the Director of Enrollment Services.
Great, thank you, Maria. Dara.
Dara Newton, Associate Vice President for Strategic Enrollment, University of Texas Rio Grande Valley.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Mary.
Mary Pasquarella, Associate Director of Graduate Admissions, Sam Houston State University.
Great. Catherine.
Good morning. I'm Catherine Perez from South Plains College. I'm the Dean of Enrollment Services.
Thank you, Catherine. Michael. Right. Christine.
Good morning, Christine Velasquez at the University of Texas at El Paso. I'm the Director of Admissions and Recruitment.
Thank you, Christine. Miguel.
Miguel Washleski, Vice Provost of Admissions, University of Texas at Austin.
Thank you. Lou.
Good morning. Lou Waterhouse, Director of Admissions and Enrollment Services, Lone Star College.
Okay, and then me. Hi, everybody. Patty.
Good morning. I'm Patty Young, Dean of Admissions, Records and Testing at Dallas College.
Okay, I'm going to go back and hit these others. Did Tessie make it?
No, Tessie and Michael, I believe, were not able to attend today. I do know that we do have a couple of individuals sitting in for respective colleges. I think we have Hannah DeLand and Brandy Enix. So if you want to have them introduce themselves as well.
Yes. So Hannah.
Hi, Hannah DeLand, Director of Admissions from Lamar University, stepping in for Katrina Print.
Thank you. And I'm missing Brandy. Thank you. I'm sorry, Brandy. Thank you. Oh, I think we had Brandy. Yes. Yes, Brandy shared that with us. Okay, great. So
yes, we do have quorum.
We have a quorum, yes, so we can continue. Thank you all for sharing. So since we're meeting virtually, we will review some of the meeting guidelines to help us manage the meeting for today. As a reminder, this meeting is an open meeting. It is being broadcast for the public and being recorded for later viewing. So please be sure to mute your mic when not speaking. As we know, a quorum has been established via roll call. In order to keep the quorum, you must keep your camera on at all times. If you're not visible, and we are no longer a quorum, and we will have to stop the meeting. There'll be time for breaks as needed, but please be sure to return promptly to proceed with the committee business. To manage the committee discussion via Zoom, please unmute and identify yourself prior to speaking for the record. We ask that you wait for the one person to finish before speaking, otherwise comments could get a little fuzzy. Should the conversation become unmanageable, which I don't think that it will, we will direct you to use the raise hand feature, and you all should know where that is, but it is an icon that has right by the 3 buttons toward the bottom of the list. Please raise your hand and lower your hand after you have had time to speak. We will only use this feature as needed. For this meeting, when the committee will vote on items, motions will be voted on by raising your hand in the camera and saying aye in favor or no if opposed. At the end of the meeting, please be aware that the meeting is still being recorded. Upon adjournment, we ask that you keep comments limited so staff can stop the recording. Are there any questions before we move to the next item on the agenda? Okay, hearing none, we can move to item number 2. Laura?
So item number 2 is the approval of the minutes from the February 27th, 2024 meeting. In the meeting materials you received via email, you'll find the meeting minutes from that date. And we'll just pause for a minute to give everybody a chance to review them and let us know if there's any changes or edits to what you review. And as you finish reviewing, if you could just let us know if there's any changes. Or we'll need a motion for approval of the minutes.
Laura, this is Beverly. I move that we approve the minutes as stated.
All right, is there a second?
This is Brian Armstrong. I second that motion.
All right, I have a second from Brian. Members, anyone who is in favor, please raise your hand in view of the camera so that we can see. And do a quick count. Hold them up there just for a second because I know last time that was hard to count everybody. Okay, is there any no's? If there are, please take yourself off mute and go ahead and say no. Okay, then our motion passes and we can go ahead and move on to agenda item number 3.
Great. So the next agenda item, we're going to review the ApplyTexas cutover plan. The ApplyTexas team finalized the plan for the cutover that will begin on May 17th and it goes through May 19th, which is it's a weekend. So the new ApplyTexas will launch on May 20th, which is a Monday. I will turn it over to Claudette to discuss a little bit more of this item at this time.
Thank you, Beverly. As Beverly shared, the cutover will begin Friday, May 17th and end on Sunday, May 19th. During this time, the current ApplyTexas system will be unavailable to all users. The new ApplyTexas system will launch on Monday, May 20th. The 2025-26 ApplyTexas application cycle will be available for institutions to open on July 1. Next slide. As we approach the application launch, we want to ensure your campus completes these critical actions. Institutions will need to update their endpoints using the EDI specifications and technical changes document. The document was emailed prior to the technical changes webinar. If you did not receive that email with that information, you can find the EDI specifications on the new redesigned ApplyTexas webpage that we stood up. It will be under the information and resources section for you. With the cutover to the new ApplyTexas will no longer accept payments. So institutions will need to have their payment processing plan in place by May 20th. Institutions will need to also participate in the end-to-end testing scheduled for April 22nd through the 26th. A notification with the subject ApplyTexas May 20 launch testing instructions was distributed last Thursday on April 11th to the ApplyTexas listserv and other stakeholders who opted into receiving those communications. You can also find the notice again on the ApplyTexas webpage. I'll review the end-to-end testing in greater detail under the next agenda item. Next slide. A banner notice will be placed on the ApplyTexas applicant portal to notify active applicants about the launch of the redesigned ApplyTexas, scheduled again for May 20th. It will also let users know the system will not be available between that May 17th and May 19th. The same banner notifications will be added to all of the other suites, including the admin portal and the counselor suite. Institutions may want to consider sending additional messaging to your applicants and make deadline accommodation for applicants to account for that system being down during this time. Next slide. So I wanted to give a quick overview and a reminder from the last webinar showing a roadmap of what the technical cutover will entail for institutions. This includes pre-deployment and deployment activities. There is a video or a webinar that was provided this information, but I'm just going to go over it really quickly. Institutions will be impacted by a maintenance page, application configuration cutoff, and changes in that payment processing for the new ApplyTexas site. The maintenance page will be a banner across the applicant, admin, and counselor suites, notifying users that the site will be unavailable. This will also note that application submissions and payment transactions will go through a freeze with the cutoff, since again, the new ApplyTexas does not support payment. Institutions will also experience an application configuration cutoff to prevent any new configurations in the old site that may impact any transmission of applications to the EDI or to NSC. There will be a freeze in the admin suite also for any new configurations or transmissions of this nature. So again, in preparation for deployment, institutions will need to establish their payment process by May 20th. For the deployment activities that are located on the right, institutions will experience a blackout period between that May 17th and 19th timeline, where the site will be unavailable so that teams will work on that user migration and data migration from the current UT ApplyTexas to the new coordinating board ApplyTexas site. Once those teams have completed the validation and testing of the user migration and data migration to the new site, then users will regain access to their accounts in the new design and format. Next slide. In addition to updating those EDI specifications with the dual credit as a separate application type now, institutions will need to make sure that they can collect dual credit if they use it as a separate application through the EDI. Institutions will need to verify your connectivity to the TREC system and also know that there are new features that will be configurable in the admin portal post-release, including the SIP to major code mapping, rich text essay format, and that dual credit application we talked about. So that's an overview of the ApplyTexas cutover. Are there any questions?
Good morning, Claudette. This is Patty Young from Dallas College. I just want to verify. I know that we did receive the email about the end-to-end testing, and I think it's done by regions. How do we know which region? And that may be a question for someone that's not from the state of Texas. So I just want to make sure that our time frame, that we understand and know our time frame.
Yes, I do recognize that that's a little bit of a challenge. So there is in that same email notification, there was a link to a region map, and it does have the different how the state is coded by higher ed region. If you scroll down in that link, I'm also preparing, just for your information, I wanted to prepare sort of a list to also share, but just for in the interim, you can find that link to the region map, and then it's by county. So if you have your institution in that county, you can see what region you can fall under. But I do plan to pretty much put all the institutions and say these are the different regions, and we can share that in a subsequent communication and post it on our ApplyTexas webpage.
Very good. Thank you.
This is Tammy Adams. Whenever you say that the site is going to go down May 17th, is that 5:00 p.m., 8 a.m.? Do you have a time of when that will go down?
I believe they're beginning at 4 p.m., but I can double check that.
Okay. We just kind of wanted to have the time frame, and then I guess the 20th, it'll open at 8 or.
It should be available by that time. I think the last bit of this transition is May 19th at 8 p.m. So the Sunday 8 p.m. and after that, but we can confirm.
Okay, if you don't mind, that would be great. And one more question, you may be going to cover this later in the payment. Are y'all going to have a landing page for everyone, or is that going to be, we just have to put it in the special questions, or what? Is that something you're going to cover next on the payment?
Yes, so we do have that on the agenda. I think it's agenda item 5. Yeah.
Okay.
So after,
I'll wait.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
No, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Laura Isdell for the next agenda item.
Okay, so the follow-up on the discussion on the payment process is item number 5. So thank you for already triggering or prompting us to go there. Is that right, Claudette?
No, it's agenda item number 4.
Oh, sorry. I'm getting ahead of my own self. So just kidding. Stay tuned for agenda number 5. We'll go back to 4. So well, we just did that. Oh, sorry. Sorry, Claudia, I need help because I feel like we just did that.
Oh, no worries. It's so the next agenda item is the overview of ApplyTexas end-to-end testing. We did talk about it.
Okay, sorry, the actual testing. Sorry, they're all interrelated.
Yes, they are.
Okay, so on April 11th, the coordinating board sent out an email announcing the May 20th launch and testing instructions. The email was sent to the ApplyTexas Advisory Committee members, the ApplyTexas listserv, stakeholders, and community college and university liaisons. Back to Claudette for an overview of the ApplyTexas testing plan.
Yes, thank you, Laura.
Sorry.
This will all be relevant here shortly. So we took the time to go over both the cutover and the end-to-end testing plan. So this is the overview of the testing plan. The ApplyTexas team will support testing of EDI generation with the institutions beginning April 22nd through the 26th. The team will support a 3-pillared approach. First is the EDI generation and file receipt. As Laura Isdell mentioned, the launch testing instructions were emailed to the ApplyTexas listserv and other stakeholders. We want to make sure that you can, do your part to make sure that the correct people did get that information. It is available on our ApplyTexas webpage as well, but we have been tracking the open rate and we want to make sure that the information is getting to you all so that you have the information to take some critical action. The instructions that were emailed out to those different groups did include that designated testing date by those higher education regions. As I mentioned, there is a link on there in those instructions and on the webpage with that notification that has the listing of the higher education region if you're unfamiliar. The coordinating board will submit one test application per institution. By 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, your institution will receive a test EDI file of one application type from the new system to test your SPEEDY folder. Institutions will then confirm they received the file in the test folder. The test application will be an application type that your institution offered during the fall of 2024. So, for example, four-year institutions may receive a U.S. freshman application, a transfer application, a readmit, or graduate international, any one of those application types, or a dual credit application as well. If your institution receives or utilizes the dual credit app for the 4-year. 2-year institutions will receive a 2-year or dual credit application. By April 29th, the coordinating board will publish EDI samples. This will be one EDI file for all application types to the ApplyTexas. So we'll have that all on the ApplyTexas webpage for additional optional testing. By May the 3rd, the coordinating board will publish a video demo series of the new applicant and admin suites for your reference and awareness. The coordinating board will also host office hours from 2 to 2:30 p.m. beginning Tuesday, April 23rd through Monday, April 29th, again by region to remediate any issues that may arise during testing. So you can sign up for those office hours through the link that was provided in those launch testing instructions that were emailed to you, or you can visit the ApplyTexas webpage under information and resources, access that information with the links to register. So all of those are embedded links within those documents. I am actually going to walk through the ApplyTexas webpage later. So I know I've mentioned it quite a bit, but I will walk through it here shortly. Are there any questions regarding the ApplyTexas end-to-end testing approach?
Yes, I have a question. This is Mary at Sam Houston. For the purposes of next week, we will submit a test application from the ApplyTexas test website to verify that our EDI SPEEDY folder is working. Is that correct?
So I believe we are going to be sending you the file for you to see if you're able to accept the file and see if it's tested in that way.
So we really just need to check our SPEEDY server on our region test date to make sure that there's a file in there, but we don't need to load it or do anything like that. That'll be at a future opportunity.
Yeah, if you're able to, I mean, I'm not entirely sure about the loading process, but it's really to see if you are able to receive the actual file.
Okay.
And it can be any application type. We're sort of bucketing those different, just to make sure that all the application types are able to be received. So it's a randomization of what file you'll receive. It could be the readmit, it could be an international app, but it is an application that your institution had as of fall 2024.
And will there be an opportunity to test the dual credit application, which is a new application type, before we go live?
Yes, and I have, so Mary, I can add that if you'd like to receive the dual credit app instead. It is going to be one application per institution just to, make sure that you can receive it, but there will be opportunities, as we mentioned, that there will be, we'll be publishing one application type on the ApplyTexas webpage so that you could utilize and see that type as well if you want to do other testing.
Okay, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
So Claudette, just to confirm, that means we will also at a later date have the opportunity to submit our own test files for processing and making sure that all of them work for individual institutions.
Would you like me to jump in here?
Yes.
Hi, all. Molly Gully. So to clarify, on the week of April 22nd to the 26th, our team is going to be submitting an application on your behalf. So they'll be logging into the system like they're an applicant applying to your school. That application will show up in your test speedy folder. And so on your designated day, we want you to go in and confirm that you received it. At that time, your tech team can use that test file to start testing the endpoints for that application type. So if they want to get started and making sure on that application type, all the endpoints are there. Then by the end of that week, we will, on the ApplyTexas website, provide EDI samples of all of the application types. So your tech team will be able to use all of those application types in order to test the endpoints of every application that your institution receives. So there won't be the opportunity for institutions to individually go in and submit a test application. It will all happen by us transmitting that to you or by you using the EDI file that we publish to the website.
Just to clarify though, there will be a test site.
The test site that I'm referring to is we're putting all of the test files on the ApplyTexas webpage. So your team will be able to go there and download them and use them to test the endpoints. But there will be a test file that we will transmit from the test environment that you will retrieve in your test speedy folder.
But we will not have a test. We would have to test. We're just taking your file then.
Correct. Our team is testing that the application actually transmitted, was able to submit. They'll be doing all of that on our end.
So Molly, this is Patty from Dallas College again. So will there be an opportunity? So if, say, for fall 2023, we only used one application, is there an opportunity to use those EDI files to build endpoints for other application types?
Yes, you would have, you would, so for example, no one's going, like the dual credit endpoints, we've already published those. So that's a new application type that you can start to use that in order to build, in order to accept that. And then, yes, you would be able to use all the other application files if you wanted to start accepting other types of applications. You'd have all of that technical documentation to get that started.
Great, thank you.
And I just want to remind everyone that during the week, starting on April 23rd through April 29th, we are going to be offering office hours. So if your teams, have questions that come up during that week, they can pop in for the office hours. We'll have members of our product team there and project team in order to find paths forward if there are any issues that arise.
Hi, this is Cindy from Tarleton. With those other applications that will be provided at the end of the week, will those include our custom questions or will it just be a basic file?
It's my understanding that it's the basic file so that all institutions can use those files.
Okay, and then at what date will we be able to test to make sure that our custom questions come through correctly and load?
That would have to happen. Stephanie, I see that you're on the call. Can you confirm that if the institutions want to test on their own, that would have to start on May 20th?
I believe that's the approach, but happy to confirm offline.
Okay.
Then one other question, is it only a 30-minute time slot for the office hours on those days?
It is, we're having 30 minutes. We don't, if a live session or a longer session is needed, we would schedule that during a different time. This is the opportunity for us to gather the information on the issue that you're having. And then if we do need to follow up with your team, we will schedule those as individuals. And then we'll also have a tracking document to log any issues that come up.
Perfect, thank you.
And Cindy, you're not restricted to attending just the one for that time. You know, this is the same meeting notice, so you can jump in if you need to. But I think, as Molly mentioned, we'll be capturing all of those questions in a form so that we can address them and have them, documented.
Okay, that'll be great because I think we're the second day, so we can log in on the first day to kind of see what's going on before we do our testing. That'll be perfect.
We wanted to make sure that the different institutions had an opportunity in a smaller group size. That was the intent of keeping them by a region so that it's not overwhelming to everyone, so that we could identify your questions for your institution in a smaller group. So that's why they're every day between the Tuesday and that Monday. So we hope people stick to the schedule just so it's not a large group, but we do understand that might have some scheduling conflicts there. Are there any other questions about the testing approach? Okay, I'll go ahead and turn it over back over to Beverly, who will do agenda item number 5.
All right, our agenda item number 5, follow-up discussion on payment process. So if y'all recall, during the last advisory committee meeting, the committee discussed the payment process in ApplyTexas, and there's been some ongoing conversations regarding this change. We have Laura Brennan with us, the Assistant Commissioner for College and Career Advising for the Coordinating Board. She'll be here. She's here to give us an update regarding the payment process discussion. So I'll turn over to Laura at this time.
Thank you. Yes, I just wanted to connect and first share that we have heard you, and it is our priority looking forward in future application cycles that we would be moving back to accepting the payment process in the application. That is not possible for this application cycle, as we've discussed before in previous meetings. And it actually will likely require some legislative action for us to accept payment as an agency, as it happened before when UT was our vendor for the application. So I just want to reiterate that we understand it is your interest to have the payment process be in the application. We are not able to include the payment process in this application cycle, but we are looking to the next legislative cycle to investigate how we could pull it back in the way it operated before. So that's just sort of level setting on, we understand, and we're prioritizing that for subsequent application cycles, and it will likely require legislative action. So for this application cycle, and so I know Claudette highlighted that for the cutover, each institution would need to have their payment process in place for May 20th. What we have in discussions with many of you, what we have landed on is that institutions will follow up via email with the applicants with the payment process instructions in the email. We are not able to include within the application the link or a landing page. I know that was just asked earlier of different links out to payment systems. this actually came from recommendations from many of your institutions who shared with us that they would require 24 to 48 hours to set up the ability for students to log in and make payment. So it was their request to not include the link within the application. And so for this May 20th cutover, each institution will be required to follow up with the student with instructions on their payment process. It will not be directly included within the ApplyTexas application. So any questions? I know this is this question came up earlier of, will there be a landing page? And so at this time, there will not be a landing page. We also, from a user experience perspective, feel that, you know, if some institutions were linking within applications, but many institutions were including the follow-up in their email, it would be a little bit, it could be a little bit confusing for students. So we are suggesting and moving forward with the email follow-up from all institutions with the instructions on payment.
So Laura, just to be clear,
yes,
we're not able to put that in our custom question. Is that what you're saying?
So technically you are unrestricted from your how your custom question works. You could put it in your custom question. We, just from a user experience perspective, if you put it in your custom question and the student is leaving to your payment page, it is could be a little bit of a challenging experience for a student to leave before they're done with the application, because the custom question would not be, you know, after the application is submitted. So there is nothing restricting you from putting it in your custom question, if that is your question. But we are encouraging institutions to follow up for the reasons I just specified.
So Laura, since this is Beverly with Texas State, since the next payment conversation would require legislative action, are y'all looking at getting on, you know, starting that like now as we start to look at, and then the next cycle that will come up very quickly? What does it look like? And then will there be, you know, constant updates to the committee to at least provide a timeline of what that might look like in case we have to go another year, or in case it is approved within that time frame?
Absolutely, will keep the committee closely involved in those conversations. We are having conversations now with the agency leadership and thinking through how that can be. You're right. I mean, it's around the corner. So a priority. Any other questions? Again, like I said, this is our priority for us to be able to deliver on the best experience for students. And so we will be working with you and be in close contact as we're thinking through, you know, the next legislative cycle, what may need to happen so that we're able to pull the payment processing back into the application.
And Laura, this is Cindy from Tarleton. I'm trying to find my notes and I can't find them from our meeting that we had. We had discussed with Jason Hill from Texas Tech that we would like possibly to have something on that confirmation page. And that you said, I couldn't remember if you said that that could be possible to add a change for an update so we could customize that by institution, or if we do still have to wait for a new application cycle, or if we could maybe, you know, maybe mid-cycle have something we could do for customization. And that way we could direct the student to a payment page upon confirmation.
Yes, so we have investigated this, and we are unable to customize the confirmation page.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Laura? Okay. Great. Thank you, Laura. We'll go ahead and move to agenda item number 6, turn it over to other Laura, to discuss.
So item number 6 is the discussion and possible action to adopt recommendations regarding ApplyTexas forms or procedures. This item would allow the committee to review recommendations to the board and discuss ways to improve the ApplyTexas application and procedures. We have 2 items for discussion and possible action to vote. And the 2 items are, number 1, to add the following essay prompt, quote, share an essay on any topic of your choice. It can be one you have already written and that responds to a different prompt, or one of your own design, end quote. The second one is a proposal to allow students to report their future intent to transfer on the ApplyTexas application. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up to discussion. And again, the intent is for us to discuss and then potentially vote on each of those separate items.
All right, I'm going to jump in real quick and say, so these 2 items were discussed at the last advisory committee meeting in February. We did not take a vote on them. Now is the opportunity to vote to see if this is something that the committee would like to have for consideration. Please keep in mind that, we vote to approve. If there's a vote to approve the item to move forward, this item may not mean immediate implementation. But we can go ahead and turn it over to Miguel, Miguel, you also should have received an email last night or yesterday with the documentation that outlines sort of what I put in an email before, where it's the level of effort that it takes to do the essay, as well as we have not had the level of effort for the transfer, but we can have that conversation. So I'll open it up for that discussion. We can turn it over to Miguel. Miguel, if you want to provide any additional information regarding these items, I know I've sent the information out, but if you want to add anything.
Yeah, thank you, Claudette. Miguel from University of Texas at Austin. So the first one is really sort of the more significant for us, and that has to do with adding that additional question and just sort of some historical context. I can't remember if I added this last time, but there was, since the advisory board was enacted, there sort of was a traditional kind of, every couple of years, the essay topics would sort of trade off between A&M and UT Austin because they were primarily the schools that were using those essay topics. We haven't done that in a little while. And so what we're hoping to do with adding this question, and if you notice, it's an exact replica of what's on the common application. It's the same question that's asked over there. It basically gives us the ability to have a student submit whatever they want. And sort of the rationale for that is that students are already overwhelmed with having to do multiple things, with writing multiple essays for either applications or scholarships, whatever. This provides that opportunity for them to recycle that same prompt by having just this general prompt. Typically, we would just add something in as a custom question, except that there is limitations on the custom questions that don't allow you to put as much as you would with a shorter question. So our hope is that this can just be another essay prompt that schools can choose. You can choose to do it or not. We would obviously choose to use it, and that would be the only essay that a person would have to submit. So we're just hoping that might be added as one. I mean, the alternative is for it to replace one that's already on there, but I think that's probably a more extensive process where we have to really think about, what sort of methodology and strategies do we want to use going forward for having essay topics revisited. Ultimately, I think that this provides just a safe option for everyone to be able to use it or not. And if you decide to use it, then that really could apply to any prompt. So that was the first thing for that. And then the second one was something that came out of a UT System Advisory Board that involves all of the UT System schools. And really what that's about is just being able to get the ability for us to have schools reach out to students that are interested in transferring to help best prepare them for that process to transfer. So I'll stop talking there, and certainly if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
And before we open it up, I do want to add, like I said, there was an email that I sent yesterday. It was just before 5 o'clock. If you want to open up the PDF that's labeled item 6 recommendations, this is going to lay out these two different change requests. We do have the level of effort that was added to that document, and the level of effort is sort of a high level t-shirt size level of effort is small, which would be 2 sprints to add the actual to add the essay. It more than likely is going to be a cost also affiliated with this change. So I just wanted to add that information for that number 1 request. And like I said, we've not determined the level of effort for change request number 2. But so if there's any other questions or discussion, we can certainly open up the floor.
I was going to say the change request for number 2. I know that discussion has come up in the ESEC, the enrollment managers enrollment leaders management SEC meetings, where we want to try and encourage these students that even though they might not be admitted to one school, they have the opportunity or transfer. They want to transfer. We have the opportunity to help them move through that cycle. So that has come up in other scenarios as well. So I like the idea that is an option for us to help those students in that on their academic journey.
Good morning again. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Patty.
So, and I do agree with Beverly in regards to that, especially for those of us at community colleges. I think that's helpful information so that we can help guide our students as they near completion on our campuses. I think the question that I have though for the first one, I just want to make sure that because we don't require an essay, that we will have the option to not use that, and we can do that in the setup. Is that correct?
That would be the idea, is that just like it is right now, it's just another thing that could be an option if you decide to use it.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
And Laura Isdell, Collin College. I actually was going to say the exact same things that Patty just did, so I'm just echoing those same sentiments.
Hannah, Lamar University. My biggest thing for the second item right now as it's written is for a student to select one institution. But I do think that it would be beneficial for a student who might be on the fence to be able to select multiple institutions. And also they can only select institutions if they say yes, but if they're on the fence, maybe it should give them an opportunity to select for what colleges might you be interested in receiving information from. And then I think, my second thought too with this is what type of data, if a student does pick an institution that they're interested in, what data is being received by that institution? Is it all of the application data, or is there a segment of? And I think those are things need to be considered.
I think those are really good thoughts, Hannah, and I agree with you that I think initially we wrote it as one school only because we thought it would be more technically feasible for folks to do that. I would certainly be open to us having that be for multiple institutions, considering the technical lift. Maybe we could adjust that. So I would revise it to be such that please allow multiple institutions if that's technically feasible to do within this run. Otherwise, we just stay with the one. And I agree also that the skip logic should say that if it's not sure, that should also be an option for that. So with those 2 revisions there, I think that makes a lot of sense. As far as the information that would be shared between the institutions, that we didn't go into incredible detail. I think it really was more about just kind of the general contact information, so that school could say, hey, we know that. So like if somebody indicated they want to transfer to UT Austin, then we might receive just some of their basic contact information. So we could reach out to them and say, look, we know that you said you wanted to eventually transfer to UT. We definitely want to be available to assist you. Certainly, there could be conversations about what other information might be helpful for institutions, and I would be definitely open to that as a secondary.
I would suggest too that whatever information would be shared with the other institution, that information, like the student needs to know that. So by checking this, we will share XYZ, your name, your email address, whatever it is. And whether it's for the optional one or I definitely know I'm going to transfer one, I would just think that would be helpful language to also include.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, Laura. I mean, if we can list that information on there, I mean, obviously from a first pass at this, so I feel like if we could at least get to a point where we say, yeah, this is kind of a cool idea, and if we vote that this is something we should do going forward, then I think the next step would actually be us sitting down and saying, okay, what information should be shared, and then that could be revised as part of it, because if it is the entire application that could be shared, then that's obviously easy. We just say it's the entire application. But maybe that's not technically possible, or maybe that's not the right thing to do. I think that's a broader conversation, or a more detailed conversation we should probably have as a secondary to if this is something that can be done.
Yeah, and this is Beverly again with Texas State. I just wanted to, I mentioned ESEC, the Enrollment Services Efficiency Committee. That's where some of this came up, and so I think it's important to understand that it is not just in one location. We're talking about this in various areas across, our higher ed folks. So to be able to assist these students would be amazing. So I just wanted to correct that for you all.
Yeah, and I think maybe because I mean, I know that this is very useful information, and it is something that multiple people have talked about. Maybe as a starting point, we just say that we're going to share contact information. And then if we decide later on we want to share more than that, then we revisit it and revise it. But maybe as an initial thing to say just basic contact information will be shared. Maybe that is how we could revise this current version for a vote.
Is there any other discussion from anybody or questions, comments? We will be looking for a motion, but two separate motions. So we would want to attack or tackle each item separately.
Yeah. So I make a motion to adopt the change 1 on there with relation to the additional essay prompt.
Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Okay, so Mary seconds. And then we can proceed for a vote. Again, we'll ask you guys to all raise your hands in support if you are saying yes, and hold them up high so that we can count them really quick.
Is Miguel voting? I don't see him there.
16, I count 16, I think. Anyone want to come off mute and say no? Then this motion passes. And then we have a second item that I'm looking for a motion for.
Yeah, and so I make a motion to pass change 2 with revisions that that we potentially look at multiple schools if that's an option technically, otherwise to stay with one school. with modifying the second question to include the maybe as, or not sure as a skip logic. And then to also revise it to say that the application information is the contact information.
Thank you, Miguel. Is there a second?
So I want to make sure that we're documenting the action. So I'm hearing we are wanting to move this forward, but we will require additional revisions at a future meeting. Is that what I'm hearing, Miguel?
I mean, if we have the possibility as a part of my motion to say that with those changes, I mean, I understand. I mean, it'd probably be helpful to just write down these changes so that we know for sure.
Yeah, so just so we know, we can certainly move this forward and get it approved. The thing that will be needed is that we would need to know exactly what you're wanting in order to move this for review by our team. So to determine that level of effort. So that's a step that's missing here. I want to make sure that I'm getting the action correct. Would it be to approve and move forward with the edits that we mentioned here? Do we want to bring this back for review to the committee before it moves on after we get the precise information or the way we want it to read, the way you want it to read?
Yeah, I mean, so that's a great question because like if it turns out to be this humongous lift, then that obviously could affect. So I guess at this point we would be the motion would be with the edits for a more. So as a committee, we're saying, yes, we'd like to do this pending an evaluation from the whichever group to say, you know, what the actual lift is. And then we probably need to take another vote based upon what that lift is.
And the revision of the content, yeah.
Right.
Right. And we'd probably want to come to have that content solidified because, you know, we can certainly take the notes from this meeting, but we want to make sure that we're getting it accurate before we move it forward for the level of effort that's needed.
Yeah, and I could definitely make a revision and send that back out with the stuff on there. But so the motion today would be for the mentioned revisions generally, and we would follow up with the exact language, although it would be very similar to that. And then this would be just voting to say, yes, we agree this is something that should be evaluated, and we will take a vote later based upon the evaluation of the work that it would take.
Okay, so the motion would be to move it forward for evaluation. Is that what we're saying? With the edits?
Yeah, I mean, as a, also, I mean, I think if it can be noted that there's support for it to go.
Right.
I mean, so if we feel like, you know, I mean, if obviously we have to know the level of it. I mean, I suppose we could make part of the motion be that if it is a low effort, but I don't know the scale really for how that would work. So yes, generally we agree with this with the revisions, although we do want to take another look at it once we understand the actual workload. I don't know if that's an official way to make a motion, but it's
My abbreviated version is to finalize the question based on the conversation that took place today. And with the intent to evaluate the lift effort.
Right.
Yeah, so I don't know if anyone else is familiar with this. I don't know if there's gonna be a need to vote on that. I mean, you're certainly welcome to vote, but to me, if it were up to me, and feel free to push back, I would table this for the next meeting, based on these, you know, what Laura just mentioned, but it's noted that there's an approval to move forward, it sounds like, but you're certainly welcome to vote. I'm trying to make sure we get the action down correctly. It sounds like there's a couple more steps that need to happen before you can formally say yes, move it on to the next application cycle.
Yeah.
That's the
Carter,
only thing I'm trying to flag.
Yeah, I think you can move forward with that you want it to be reviewed, but then you would probably hold it with the new revisions to then vote on it the next time.
Yeah, that
That's
makes
usually
sense
how
to
it
me.
works.
I mean,
That's usually how it works, yeah.
Yeah, considering that, I'll withdraw my motion.
And to be clear, Claudette, no evaluation of the lift effort would take place until that additional vote took place, even though there's clearly support.
No, we would actually come to the table after the revision is submitted.
Okay.
So if Miguel turns around the revision based on the conversation from the committee, we would send that over to our team for a review to determine the level of effort, and then we can vote at the next meeting. Or you
Perfect.
guys can vote at the next meeting.
So then I would personally request that we submit it with the desired effort, but that the evaluation of that effort includes both the option for what it would take to include multiple institutions. But if that's not possible, what is the effort for a single institution?
Yeah, when I resubmit it, Laura, I'll add that on there.
Okay.
So I have one question. Claudette, would we be, we've already approved the first, would we be, because there is going to be an extra cost, would we be picking between these two? Because I can tell you, if we're picking, I want the second one. So, I mean, I'm just asking that. Is that a concern?
I don't know, Laura, if Laura Brennan or Molly has a comment on that one, because if there's any budget implications, what this would look like.
Or timing constraints also.
Right. We'll bring to the table what that timeline looks like, like similar to how we mapped out the level of effort, how many sprints it takes. We could probably discuss, it really would be offline discussion about any budget implications at this point, but we can come to the table and say, here are these two options. It's going to take this amount of level of effort. That's typically how the committee would run, is that we would bring different items, changes that any external party would bring, any institution would want to make, similar to how we've mapped this out here. So we would evaluate those, talk about level of effort, and then the committee would decide, as you were mentioning, what they want to prioritize. So that can be for further discussion with the committee on what items they want to prioritize. If they want both of them, then like if there's a need for both of them, then you either pick and choose based on the level of effort and potential budget implications. And so that's sort of the process that we'll be working with. So I don't know if Laura or Molly wants to jump in about budget implications moving forward, because this is a change in the process from before, where I think you all received a notice, you received a notice about the cost change. So the agency will no longer be charging institutions for the cost for public institutions to utilize the ApplyTexas application system. So that cost is now on the agency. So that's a little bit different. So I'll open it up if Laura or Molly has anything else to add on that.
Sure. I think what I'd add is that, the votes that happen here make clear your recommendations for our priorities for ApplyTexas. And we bring those then to our leadership to say, we have heard from ATTAC that this is a priority moving forward. If that, it is not a definitive, it's implemented right away, because as Claudette mentioned, there's costs associated and we do have to plan out how it would be implemented. So for example, right now we are in the process of, heads down working on the new ApplyTexas. And once it is released in July, we are going to be likely working with a managed service provider who will help support any changes, needs, maintenance, post our contract with our current vendor, which ends in September. So we would be, working with our managed service provider to make any necessary changes and prioritize what we hear from y'all in those changes. So in other words, we take your recommendations and, apologies, there's a phone call coming through. So we take your recommendations and then we will surface those to our leadership to see how and when things may be approved for actual development. Any questions on that, what I just shared?
So this would not be for this cycle possibly.
It's what we hear from you today, and so you voted on item 1. We are going to take back and see whether or not that is possible. I know it's the intention of UT. I know we've heard that it is the intention that this would be available in the July meeting. I mean, in the July release, but we cannot commit here to say definitively, yes, this will be available in the July release. But we're taking the recommendation and exploring what may be possible for the July release. So in other words, it's not a definitive commitment. Yes, because you voted yes, it will be available in July, but we are taking your recommendation to see what is possible and by when.
And are you looking at the second option as well, or waiting until we have that all?
So the second option, oh, go ahead. I was going to say the second option we don't have, or the second item we do not have scoped out to the extent that we have the first item scoped out. We've already shopped that with the vendor to see what level of effort it would require. We don't have that understanding for the second item.
So as I mentioned, we'll work on getting that level of effort and seeing if there's any, budget implications in a similar fashion as we did with the first request. Later on, you will hear, I know we're in our third meeting with the advisory committee. You'll hear later on, there might be an option if the committee wants to meet one additional time before the end of the academic school year. So that will be an opportunity if you want to bring this back to the table for discussion and approval, with that information that we've sent on for review or analysis from our team to determine that level of effort. So there could be potentially an opportunity to do that. And you'll hear that later in the agenda. But if there is not a vote today or, discussion today to move something forward, we will have to wait until the next, when we meet again, or this committee reconvenes in the fall of next year, or the fall, not next year.
So it sounds like, though, from the conversation, there's interest in voting.
Yes.
And then we can, bring that to our vendor to see what the level of effort is. So I think because we're meeting now, we should vote.
Well, there's a vote to confirm the essay, but there's no, on
item 2 is what I'm saying.
On item 2, there's really not a need to vote, is what I'm saying, because we could table it. There's interest to do that. We just need some more information. But if you want to vote, we can certainly vote. And so I just need to know what the vote is a vote to, and I think Laura, you captured it. Laura Isdell, you captured it, and we can take that vote if you want to.
I think where it gets, and this has always been the complicated part of us approving anything, is it's what actually is the amount of work it takes to get something done. We don't have any sort of point of reference or scale to be able to understand what that even means. So when somebody says low, medium, or high lift, how do we even understand what that is, and how do we vote on that? We don't understand the actual. So if I said that, you have $500 and this is going to cost you $25, then we have some point of reference of what that is in relation to your total ability. We don't have that understanding when it comes down to actual work that's being done. So I think as a committee, our best course of action is to say, we believe this is something that's very, very important. And then there almost has to be something from the coordinating board that goes and says, okay, we know these are both important things. Let's see what we can actually accomplish. And so I don't know if our vote is to say, dedicate X dollars or X resources to this. It's more that we support this as a team. And so in that case, we go off and say, yes, we would love to have this with the ability to have multiple institutions. Now, coordinating board, take this and understand that you've got the support of your community, and then they make a decision based upon the available resources.
Absolutely, Miguel. And I think that's what what I was trying to communicate earlier is, we want to take your recommendations and then we can explore with our leadership team and with our available resources, what can be done based on understanding your clear recommendations on these two items and more, right?
And that's the exact word, Laura, is your exact recommendation, because there's discussion on some changes, and once Miguel submits those recommended, any edits, then we can move that forward. But yes, to the overall point, we are going to say there's an interest to add an essay, which has already been voted on. And then the next item, to your point, Miguel, would be the motion can be just there's interest in adding this intent to transfer, and then we can work offline with you to determine what that would be, and the level of effort can be analyzed. We won't need to bring that to the team if that's the way the committee feels we should operate.
So then the motion would be that we support the second recommendation with a edit to add multiple institutions and possible other grammatical or whatever sentence structure revisions that will be done at a later time, and then submitted to the coordinating board as this is something we would like for the coordinating board to pursue. So that's my motion.
Do we have a second?
I second it.
Okay. So then we will vote on the recommendation to move forward with this intent, knowing that we will still be tweaking the language. Hands up so that we can see them, please, if you are in support.
Can I also get who seconded the motion?
It was Beverly.
Beverly? Okay, thanks, Beverly.
Sorry about that. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think 16 is what I count. If anyone would like to say no, please come off mute and say no. Okay, then the motion does pass. Okay, so also just for the good of the group, the ApplyTexas team will also continue to collect and document any other recommended changes received and continue to bring them back to the committee for consideration. We do have just a couple more items left on our agenda, but we want to make sure if any need for a break, we take a moment and give that opportunity. So raise your hand if there is a need for a quick break. And if not, we will continue to proceed. Okay, so yes, there is a need for a quick break. Do you think we can take a break till 11:25? Is that enough? Okay, so 11:25, we will reconvene. right, it's 11:25, and just a reminder as you're rejoining to make sure to put your cameras back on so that we will continue to have quorum. And as people pop back in, I am going to turn this over to Beverly for our next agenda item.
Great. All right. So I think thank y'all for the discussion. That was really good discussion. Glad we were able to get that taken care of. So next agenda item is the preview of the ApplyTexas Support Services webinar. The next ApplyTexas webinar is scheduled for Wednesday, April 24th at 11 a.m. to share the ApplyTexas Support Services. Claudette back? She will provide a preview of the webinar and open it up to the committee for feedback. So please share your feedback as she goes through this. Any feedback is received from our meeting today will be incorporated into the webinar. Claudette, are you ready for this next item? Sure she's made it back yet.
And we can give her just a second because it looks like there's still a couple more people maybe that need to join back
few more
too. So
moments.
maybe I got too quick. Brittany. Just a reminder too, if you voted earlier with your hand, you might need to still put it back down for future items.
We'll give her a few more minutes. I think we did start a little early, Laura. It's okay. All right, Claudette, we're ready. We're ready for you. We were just talking about the ApplyTexas Support Services webinar.
Yep.
So item 7, whenever you are ready, I was sharing with the group that you'll provide a preview of the webinar, and once you've completed that, the committee, I know you'll ask the committee for feedback. So we will be able to share that, and I hope everyone will be able to share some of that. So Claudette, it is yours to provide us with the
Awesome.
webinar next.
Great. Thank you, Beverly.
Mhm.
So as a reminder, the webinar is part of the ApplyTexas webinar series that was intended to inform the institutions about all the changes and how to prepare for the cutover and the launch for the next application cycle. I want to walk through the slides for the ApplyTexas Support Services webinar, and again ask that you let me know if there's anything we should edit or add to the presentation. Just to give you a heads up, the first slides, about 6 slides, I think, are the same slides I've already presented today, but please feel free to share any feedback on any of these slides. So the purpose of this webinar is to review the actions institutions need to take prior to the launch. In addition, I'll review how to access the, so this is the important launch dates that I walked through with you earlier. That'll be presented to during the webinar. So we can go to the next slide. And I'll review how to access the ApplyTexas services for the institutions and applicants. We'll go through these again, the critical items that each institution needs to take, sort of similar to what I presented earlier. If you go to the next slide, you'll see we'll talk through some of those items that the institutions should consider, especially that messaging, additional applicants and making accommodations for those applicants. If you'll go to the next slide, and I'm not going to go through these in great detail since we went through them earlier, but I'll have that same sort of review for those each of the, when we do provide that webinar, I'll go through these individually in a similar manner that I did earlier. So I'll walk through the deployment experience, kind of walking through some of what that roadmap looks like and what the institutions will expect to see or what will happen during that time through May 17th through the 19th. You can go to the next slide. I'll again review those additional items that they need to prepare for in time for the cutover. And you can go to the next slide. This slide is also, I'll also go through that end-to-end testing. I'm just kind of walking through what to expect for the testing. It will be, the webinar will be held on April 24th. So that's sort of in the middle or just at the start of when we'll be doing the testing. So it's an opportunity to remind those that they can sign up for the testing as well if they had not heard about it in the past. Let's see. This will, again, I'll review the testing plan and inform the participants during the webinar of the target dates for the EDI generation and that receipt of the file. Based on some of the conversation earlier, I think we might need to be a little bit more clear or add a couple of comments on what that looks like, sort of what Molly walked through a while ago, to sort of provide some clarity on what to expect for that. So I'll be incorporating that in the webinar as well. We'll talk through, you can go to the next slide, Molly. These next slides are new. So this is just sort of walking through the support that's available. So like the current system, ApplyTexas will be supported by 3 help desks at the same email addresses that they have been before. This includes the support help desk for the student technical questions or issues, the admin portal support, as well as the counselor suite support. Next slide. So the coordinating board created the redesigned ApplyTexas webpage to ensure that all critical information was conveniently located and accessible to everyone. So the webpage really provides an overview of those key changes to the ApplyTexas system. It provides a timeline of those key dates for the upcoming webinars, as well as the timeline for the cutover and the launch of the new application in July 1. The ApplyTexas webpage also includes the information and resources section. The webpage will continually be updated, as I mentioned earlier, with the latest information. So we'll be updating like the webinar recordings and slide decks for all the webinars. They're currently all there for all the previous webinars. There's also a frequently asked questions list, and that FAQ document does include all the questions and responses from all the previous webinars that we've held, and some of the emails that we've received with questions from the stakeholders. So it has both the questions and those responses to each of those questions. You will also find all the related memos and email announcements regarding those key changes to the ApplyTexas application. And you can also find the technical changes document, which includes those EDI specifications that we mentioned earlier. The page also includes a way for individuals to sign up to receive communications regarding ApplyTexas. As a quick reminder, the form that is on the site now is based on some feedback it was created based on some of that feedback from the committee during the last advisory committee meeting in February. So this is just an outline of the page. I'll go ahead and go to the next slide. As you can see, there's a wealth of information under the information and resources section with links to the presentations and communications, as well as those technical documents. I've just highlighted here the EDI specifications document and the FAQ document, but now we'll go ahead and navigate to the redesigned ApplyTexas webpage, so I can kind of walk through with you the webpage in its view. So, and let you know where you can find some of this important information. So as we start at the top, again, there's that overview, and we can scroll down. Here is where you'll find all those key changes that talks about the cutover, the important information about the payment system, any field changes. Again, these are all those key changes. We talked briefly about the operating cost and those transcript requests as well under TREX. So there's information about those key changes. You can scroll down to see the timeline. Here you can find those important dates under this timeline section. This also includes, you'll see some links here. Those are links to register for the upcoming webinars. We do plan to send out additional email notifications to ensure that you are aware that the webinar is coming for both the April 24th Apply Texas Support Services and Onboarding webinar, and the May 22nd post-launch support webinar. Scrolling down is where the bulk of the information and resources lie. This is the section where you'll find those recordings and slide decks, as I mentioned. We wanted to highlight a slide deck of the new ApplyTexas student portal. When you click there, this is the slide deck that was presented at one of the first webinars. But as you can see, this is a slide deck that you can use for and share with your prospective students. It sort of gives them an indication on how what's expected on the 25-26 application. So you can look through here, it'll walk through and show more of a visual for any prospective students. Going back to the page, you will find, again, all the announcements that have gone out that are included here on the web page. We did want to highlight the test launch instructions, where you can find those at the very bottom of the page. It says technical documentation. And then this is the email instructions that went out. But like I said, if you did not receive the email, or if someone on your team did not receive the email, you can direct them to this web page again. And you will find the announcement that provides the testing instructions, a link to register for the office hours. And you can also find that link to the designated region map that we were talking about earlier, where you can determine what higher education region your institution is under. And so then that's that. And the last item we wanted to highlight was the ApplyTexas EDI specifications document. We get several questions about this document, and it's here located on the webpage. This document includes information and links to the dual credit application specifications. It includes the information on rich text format for essays, the cycle updates, configurable models, a link to the core questions inventory, and that change summary that we've reviewed a few times, I think, here at this meeting, and a list of additional technical changes. So you'll see all that. We also included or embedded the webinar that had reviewed the technical changes overview, as Molly is scrolling there. Okay. So as we continue to add additional communications, we'll add them here to this landing page, the ApplyTexas landing page. And there we will also include those EDI samples. Remember, it's that one application test file per application type will be located on this web page as well. We'll provide the upcoming webinar recordings and slide decks from the next 2 webinars we have scheduled, and any future communications that become available, for throughout this process. So that is the end of the preview. I kind of whizzed through that really quickly because we did have an overview of those other slides earlier, but I'm going to open it up for any committee feedback or any questions you all might have.
Claudette, the couple notes that I wrote down from the earlier conversation was being able to have the confirmed dates and times of when the site would be down, that if we could get a confirmed date and time of when we'll be able to test our own custom questions. And then I know you just shared everybody the regions again, but if we can again highlight like you just did where those regions were. Those were the few things that I had written down.
I plan to put them in a list to be a little bit more clear, like here are the institutions that fall in this area. So I think that's really good feedback. Any other feedback? And thank you, Laura, for capturing that for me. Okay. That's all I had for the redesign. I know that it's going to take, like I said, probably anywhere between 15 to 30 minutes for that webinar, so it'll be short. but it is highlighting a lot of the resources that we do have available on the current webpage and those resources that will be made available to you throughout this period. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Laura Isdell for the next agenda item.
All right, the next agenda item is a next meeting date. So as a reminder, the coordinator board staff wants to or strives to coordinate meetings with the committee members as early as possible. And we are required to meet at least 2 times a year, but depending on the need, we can meet as often as we want to, but 3 or 4 times a year is certainly something that's happened in the past. And while this could be our last meeting of the year, due to the earlier conversation, I wonder if it warrants us having one final meeting here in May. And so I put that out to the group. Is there an interest in having one additional final meeting here in May?
Yes, I think that would be a good idea to meet again in May. This is Mary at Sam Houston.
This is Jamie Hansard at Texas Tech, and I agree, especially knowing that this will open, and then if there's challenges that we have before the next cycle opens, I think it would be critically important for us to meet.
Okay, if there's no objection, I know that Claudette can always send out the poll, but if there's any weeks that are preferable, one more than the other, I know we all have graduations and lots of things going on in May, but is there input on any dates that you'd like us to at least consider as possible for the poll?
I guess the question would be, do you want it before the blackout or after after it launches on the 20th?
I think after the launch.
Right. Does it provide you an opportunity to, share any concerns or issues or ask any questions that might come up?
So do you think shooting for that last week of May? Maybe the 30th or 31st? We probably avoid Friday, so the 29th or the 30th? Okay. Okay. So we will ask the coordinating board staff to send out a doodle poll with some possible dates and maybe consider May 29th and 30th as options. And now I will turn it over to Beverly for the last agenda item. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Laura. I just wanted to make sure, because again, we need to meet quorum. So I want to make sure that the 29th or the 30th is still a good date for everyone, since we have pretty much a majority here. Does that date work for everybody? I'm kind of scrolling to see head nods. Yes or no?
Will be out on that week.
Yeah, it doesn't work for me either.
Neither of those dates?
No.
I'm available on the 28th.
I'm available on the 28th as well.
Does the 28th work for most people? Please come off mute just in case I miss anyone. I'm sort of scrolling through. Let's see. I see Lou says yes. Christine says yes. Thumbs up from Ms. Juarez and Callie. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Hannah, I know you're substituting, but we can share that with your team member. And Jamie, does that look good for you?
Yes. Yes.
Patty and Cindy? Yes.
Yes.
Tess and Brandy, I see your thumbs up. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, then we'll just go ahead and let's go ahead and commit to the 28th because we have a very slim window. Does anyone feel like that's not the good date? Please come off mute now.
I won't be available.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm off that day as well, but if that is what works for everyone else, then I'll figure it out.
Claudette, I want to point out that the 28th is the day after Memorial Day. So if people had travel plans, just want to bring that to people's awareness. And then a lot of ISDs, for those of you with children, a lot of ISDs have their last day of school on the 29th. So just keeping those two in mind. If they may not, those things may not be on your work calendar right now, but they are things on the community calendar.
with the week before, like a Thursday or Friday. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. It's after the launch, which is on Monday.
We only have a conflict, like our staff has a conflict on the 23rd. But the 22nd, the 22nd is the ApplyTexas webinar that we'll be doing as well on May 22nd. So it's either we'd have to push the timeline or time, or do it on the 21st or a Friday. But I wouldn't recommend the Friday because I believe, again, to Molly's point, that's the weekend of Memorial Day weekend and graduation for some. I know I have some family members graduating as well. So
I can
it's
do the 21st.
the 21st.
Well, I would worry if we met that soon after the cutover. Are we really going to have any details to be able to share? I mean,
about-
I don't know if a week would make a difference, but if part of this conversation is about prepping for the next cycle, I don't know that one day later would be enough.
Yeah,
us to
and
have
valid point. Do you all want to meet, or do you want, I need to stop saying you won't. Do you want to meet in June? Does the committee want to meet the first week in June? I'm sorry, go ahead.
I feel like June might be a better time because I think we are going to get caught up with end of school graduation activities at work and all of those things in the last week of May.
Mhm.
So maybe the first or second week of June.
How does that look for others? Down from
Not a
Beverly.
good week for me either, but if everybody else is available, that should be fine.
I'm only available June 3rd and 4th, just for those 2 weeks, but I know I'm just one person. So I don't know if it'd be helpful to just send out a poll.
Probably.
Yeah.
That's what I think, and I would include the May and the last week of May dates and the first week of June dates.
So we'll do a June 3rd through 4th, June 3rd and 4th. I'll do the 21st, May 21st. And 22nd, we'll just no, I don't want to do 22nd because I have to do the webinar that day.
The 28th, we were thinking.
The 28th, May 21st or May 28th.
And I'd recommend we also do the 29th since both co-chairs technically are out on the 28th. I'd be willing to come in, but if we can find a different date, I'd prefer it.
All right, so we got May 21st, the 28th or 29th, and then June 3rd and 4th. Are those for options?
And the
So we'll
24th
get that sent.
is out, right? The 24th is out. It's not an option.
I don't recommend that date. I think that's
It's a
the
Friday.
start of the Memorial Day weekend, and we don't
that's
want to
right.
put that on anyone. Yeah, so we'll send out a doodle poll. Hopefully we can meet quorum for those days. If we're unable to, we will send out a notice letting people know that we cannot meet quorum. So I just wanted to get some of those dates. We'll get that sent out fairly quickly so we have a confirmed date. So will you commit to replying by, we'll give a week or two, but we'll send the poll out pretty quickly because we need to know the date. So yeah, we'll do that.
Great. Okay, I think we're at our last agenda item, which is the adjournment. So this concludes the business of the ApplyTexas Advisory Committee for April 16, 2024. If there's no further discussion or any other questions? Okay, do I have a motion for adjournment?
This is Miguel. I move to adjourn.
Thank you, Miguel. Do I have a second?
This is Patty. I second.
Thank you, Patty. All in favor, please raise your hand of yes. All those that oppose, unmute and say oppose or no. Then the motion passes. It is 11:50 and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.